Hi guys, Overarch here, and today I have some tips for you in BattleTech. So BattleTech is very true to the tabletop, which I think is awesome. It does, however, take a little bit of getting used to. So I have 10 tips here that are hopefully going to make you a little bit better and kind of understand the turn-based nature of BattleTech combat a little bit better, as there's some things that the game does not do a very good job of explaining. So the first is to make sure that you turn on Show UI during attacks in options. It makes the game feel so much better where you can see in real time where your shots are landing on the enemy and vice versa. So you're more aware of what's happening and if the enemy is vulnerable on a specific arc, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This just significantly increases your game awareness, your awareness of what's going on in the game, so I highly recommend it. Another thing I also tweak in the options while I'm there is the camera settings, as I don't want to have the cinematic camera every time a mech walks around. That's a little bit much. The number 2 is that evasion is amazing, so you should always have your mechs moving unless you have a slow mech that's maybe rocking, bulwark or something like that, or maybe is in cover. It's a little bit of a judgment call, but if my mech does not have a good reason to be sitting still, I am always moving it. Even just my artillery mechs can always be moving to a better position. Number 3 is likewise be sure to restrict the evasion off of your enemy. So multi-target fire and sensor lock is great for this, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But support weapons and melee also ignore evasion, so keep your light mechs out of punching range from larger mechs, as they'll get clobbered up. And likewise, if an annoying little light mech is coming up to you, death from above it or punch it out. Number 4 is pay attention to where your enemy's weapons are located. If your enemy has an especially dangerous weapon mounted on its arm or has most of its armor stripped off on that side, you can focus fire on that side by firing from that side. So for example, let's say the Centurion. So the Centurion is a medium mech that mounts an AC-10 on one of its arms, and by default anyway, and the AC-10 is relatively dangerous. So it's mounted on its right arm. If you get a mech to the right of it and then fire, you're guaranteed to hit either the arm or the right torso or right leg, meaning that you can basically focus fire and take off that arm that has the very dangerous weapon on it. So it's a great tactic. 5, focus fire the enemy. Enough said on this one. It's kind of common sense, but if you can eliminate an enemy and take him out of the fight, awesome. Try not to overkill them too much. For example, if I see a wounded light, I'm probably not going to have my assault 100-ton Atlas alpha strike it. But, remember that even damaged mechs can still cause a lot of damage with death from above or melee. So kind of use your best judgment on this one, on when to blast the enemy and when it's overkill. Number 6, using Brace completely ignores stability damage. Right now, at roughly launch, LRM spam is super prevalent online, and stability damage is really quite OP. It's really the meta right now. So taking a turn to Brace and remove that stability damage isn't necessarily a bad option if your mech is about to tip over. Number 7, light mechs are super vulnerable to melee like we talked about before. So I will often outfit them with longer range weapons and let them dance around the outskirts of the fight, plinking away at the enemy and knocking out their evasion tokens. Speaking of evasion again, managing evasion is basically the most important thing in the game if you can't tell. Remember that evasion tokens refresh when a unit moves. So if your mech is in a safe position or still has its evasion up, delaying your action isn't necessarily a bad idea. For example, if I know the enemy medium mech is about to get its turn and move, refreshing its evasion tokens, it might be best if my light mech reserves its action. That way, when the enemy medium moves, my light mech can engage it or sensor lock it and strip off some of those evasion tokens. Number 9 is that weapons mounted on the arms get an accuracy bonus, but are a bit more vulnerable to getting hit like we talked about before with the Centurion example. So it's kind of a trade-off. Definitely if you have a mech that's built for longer range battle, it's going to be harder to flank it, so I will always put the weapons that I want to be more accurate on its arms. And lastly, number 10, it's very common to mount ammo in the same location as the weapon. This can give you a good idea of where the enemy keeps their ammo, so you can focus your fire on it and get that damage bonus from ammo detonation. For example, the Centurion with the AC-10 again, it probably, most mech commanders will mount the ammo for that in the same arm. That way, you take out that weapon when the arm is blown off. You lose both the weapon and the ammo at the same time, instead of having two potential points that if they get taken out would knock out that AC-10. So focusing that arm down with a called shot or by using firing arcs can not only knock out that dangerous autocannon, but also gives bonus damage from the ammo detonation, and that damage moves inward on the mech, so even if you blow off the arm, you're still damaging their torso with the ammo detonation. So as always, guys, let me know if you have your own tips for BattleTech down in the comments below. I am still certainly learning about this very complex game. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye.